Well, I am going to go ahead and get started. Oh, hello, Carmen, and hello, Camille. So glad that you guys are here. I'm doing a different type of paper project away from cards like I usually do. And what I'm going to create tonight for you guys is oh, Carmen, you can't hear me because you are working. So I'm going to be making a cute little traveler's notebook. This is super tiny, so it would be a perfect size to fit into your purse. I have made some traveler's notebooks before, and you can find other videos of those on my channel. I haven't made one since, I think I made one cover back in um, Carmen wants them to think she is working hard. That is too super funny. I love that. Anyway, I'm going to be making a traveler's notebook a lot like this one. And the notebooks that I've got inside, you can tell that it's not the right size for the notebooks. These are some little notebooks I had done a while back. They're little, just basically just little notebooks that I picked up at Dollar Tree at one point. So what I really need for these notebooks, if I want to use them, is to just make the cover a little bit bigger. But this size is going to be, I believe it was the micro. Let me just look one more time as to what I had pulled up for that. Okay, so this cover, okay, where did I put that? I'm trying to get myself more organized. Of course, that also means that I can't find what I'm looking for. Okay, so the size of this one is a micro traveler's notebook, which means that the cover is about 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and each of the inserts should be only 3 by 4, and these are actually a little bit tall for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started showing you guys how I created this cutie. First, one thing I had never thought about until a video I saw today was to make a template. So that is what I'm going to do. That way I know exactly what it was that I used and the exact dimensions, so I can duplicate it more easily. And I'm going to go ahead and write on there what it's supposed to be. So the measurements on this guy again are 7.5 by 4.5 inches. And I'm probably going to create a template on my scan and cut so that it's easier, you know, for you guys to be able to maybe duplicate it. But what I'm going to start off with is what we need. First off, you're going to need a piece of cardstock that is 7.5 by 4.5. And then we need to put each of the little holes in there. So as you can see, this one is, let me get my ruler out because I don't know if you can see. Let me turn off this banner real quick because you can't really see the markings on my, there we go, that is turned off now. So this is 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and I just cut that out of some cheap Michaels cardstock, just some, you know, regular weight, not the heavyweight stuff. And then what we're going to need to do is, when you're doing a traveler's notebook, the way that these are designed, get some of these notebooks out of the way so you can see that better. These are designed so that you can put your own inserts, or your own signatures as they're called, inside the notebook and be able to basically swap them out as much as you want to. Now I decided to go with some of that pretty paper from that paper pack that I've used on a couple of videos before now. I think it's just darn cute, and I really like this one that is all the X's and O's and hearts. I think that's really nice for like just to carry around for the next month or so with Valentine's Day. So that's kind of neat. So we're going to want to we need to be able to thread some elastics to be able to hold each of these notebooks in, okay? So that means we need to be able to we need some holes to be able to thread them through. Now I was going to use some grommets because I think that would be nicer here. However, with the holes that I had punched, my grommets are much bigger, so I know I've got some smaller ones, but I don't know where they are. Again, I need to finish going through all of my supplies. So we're going to start off with making the template, and this will make it easier for you guys to duplicate. And the first one needs to be at the center. So I found that it's easiest to find the center of the cardstock by just using my scoring board. So the paper is at 7.5, so that means we need to score it at 3 3/4 to get to right in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and score it there. I'm also scoring it there for another reason, and I'll show you that in a bit as well. I'm also going to be putting each of the holes about 1/4 inch apart. So we need one on each end in the center. And then I'm just going to use the marks on my scoreboard. Let's see if you can see that. Marks on my scoreboard to measure out the 1/4 inch. So here's 1/4 inch. I'm going to go ahead and mark that, and then the other one is here. So we're basically going to have marks at 3.5, 3 3/4, and 4 1/4. And then flip it around and do the same thing on the second side. Marking at 3.5, 3 3/4, and at 4. And that does not look quite straight. So let me redo my scoring. Bet that means that my cardstock wasn't quite straight when I did that score. Go ahead and erase that one in the middle and redraw it. Okay, so that one looks like it's in about the right spot. Next, I'm going to grab my Crop-A-Dile, and you could use any hole punch that you have. I'm going to be using the 1/8 of an, I think that's 1/8 of an inch. Anyway, I'm going to be using the small one to punch out these little holes. Now, if I did the larger hole, and if this was a larger notebook, it might work better. But I'm going to go ahead and just use this small one. And I'm going to do these punches in at about 1/4 inch from the edge. Okay, so on the Crop-A-Dile, there are these little markings. Let's see if you can see that. Anyway, there's a 1/4 inch right there, so I'm going to line it up there so that I'll have them all at the right distance from the edge. And then I'm going to try lining up the end of my Crop-A-Dile right with that line that I just drew. And I'm looking through the hole to try to see that the line is actually right in the middle of the circle that I'm going to be punching. As you can look at the other one, I didn't get it quite right. That one's pretty close. And then the third hole. It looks like they're about right. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn around and do the same thing on this side. One thing I have noticed with my Crop-A-Dile is that the holes basically stick in there a little more than they should, so I have to get out my pokey tool to knock them out. Otherwise I can't see through there. So the center one, and then the two and the two other ones. And that one is a little bit off, but I think that's close enough. Then we're going to need a hole in the center. And that's one of the reasons why I did the scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that in half. And then I also need to figure out exactly where the center is along this line. So this is 4.5, so that would mean that it would be at 2.25. So I am just going to lightly, not actually scoring, but draw my line down to where it's supposed to go, and just draw a little line there. Then I'm going to double check and make sure it's right with my ruler. I trust my scoreboard a lot. So right now I'm just lining up the edge here with the line here so I can measure in and just try to have that as close as I can to correct. And it looks like I was a little bit off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and fold over. I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile again, and I'm going to line up that little line with my circle, and then I'm going to punch basically a half circle there. And that gives me a hole in the center. And this is just going to be a template. And I'm going to write on it again what the size is. And then for my reference, I'm going to also put a note on here what the size is supposed to be of the inserts. And those are going to be 3 by 4. Okay. Next, we're going to take a piece of cardstock, and I already had this one. I already printed this. I've already cut this one out ahead of time, and I think I'm going to do this a little bit different than I did the other. I'm going to go ahead and punch those holes now. So to do that, I'm going to use some clips here just to hold everything in place. I can get everything lined up right. And you see that I did cut this other cardstock right down to that 7.5 by 4.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and punch those little holes, lining up with the ones I did on my template. And then turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Not real good at using a template for hole punching. I always get a little bit off, so this is kind of good practice. Okay. And next, you can already tell this thing is not going to fit that far in to be able to punch that little hole out. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to do it like I did the other. I'm going to go ahead and just fold it in half. Because after we get done with this part, I'm also going to laminate it. Get that straight. This is another reason why I use my scoring tool so much. Easier to get everything lined up perfectly straight, or at least pretty close. Okay, so I'd say that that one is close enough to the center for me. Next, I'm going to do something that I forgot to do last time. I'm going to go ahead and just round these corners. I don't particularly like having them really sharp sharp corners like this because it is hard plastic and it kind of hurts whenever you stick yourself with that. So I'm going to go ahead and round these. And next what we're going to do is we're going to laminate this. Now the reason I like laminating when I'm doing these in cardstock is because the paper is not going to really hold up. And this is something that the size of it and the whole design of it and the use of it is something that you're going to want to use it a lot and you're going to wind up throwing it into your purse. So if it's not thrown in my purse, I mean if I throw it in my purse it's going to fall apart. So I am going to go ahead and just laminate this thing. And because, okay, since it's so small and my sheet here is so large, I'm going to go ahead and trim that down. Before I do that, I am going to make sure that there is no dust or anything sitting in here. Okay. Then I'm going to take some tape to tape the edge about where I need it to stay. And this part's going to be cut off anyway, so it really doesn't matter, but I don't really want it to move. Because the way that these things are, this end is already sealed, but this part isn't. So when I cut it down, it's going to be two flat pieces that are kind of just laying there together, and they may not want to go through. They may try to shift and everything when I try to put them through my laminator. Now another way to do this would be to do two at once, but I didn't have everything prepped for a second one. So now I am taking out my Cronova laminator that has been sitting over here heating up for quite a while. Like I said, I've already done that one. I'll go ahead and send that through. One of the things I like about this laminator though is it only takes a couple of minutes for it to heat up nice. I haven't had any kind of problems when it comes to laminating or foiling or anything like that. It is perfect. I need to look and see more uses for this guy. I do tend to put everything through twice just to be on the safe side. And when you're laminating, depending on the thickness of your cardstock, you probably can see there is a little area of on the side that is, it's basically a bubble. It's a little pocket of air. This side is not as wide as this one, so I'm going to flip it around and put it back through the opposite way to try to reduce that bubble. It doesn't always work, but it works part of the time. Okay, and if I haven't already said hello to you, go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let us know that you're here, and be sure to put it on live chat. That helps me know who I'm talking to. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my paper trimmer again. And we're just going to trim off the excess. And of course I want to take the tape off before I do that. That is a great idea, Carmen. Carmen uses hers to do flashcards. It's not wanting to come off my finger. Okay, so now I'm going to just trim this down. Now what I'm going to leave on the edge, because I don't want to cut into the little bubble there, I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch around, because that's about where it is on here. It may be different for you and yours. Actually, I need to leave just a touch more than that. Because what happens if you cut into that, then the laminate can basically get torn off pretty easy. And I don't want that to happen on this. So you can see that the bubble is there, and I trimmed it a little further out than that. And it looks like it's might be a little bit crooked, but I think it's maybe close enough. Let's see. Actually, it looks like it is pretty good. And this one has, this side seems to have a smaller bubble, but I'm going to try to leave about the same that I did on the other side. Get a little more than 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and that is pretty good. And then I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile again and try rounding the corners. Now, when I'm doing it with my Crop-A-Dile, it may or may not cut through the laminate. And you see it didn't quite cut there, but that's okay because it marked it where I need to cut. And then I can just come back with my scissors and trim that off. And you've got a pretty good rounded corner. I think I'm going to go back over it one more time just to be sure I got everything. That one cut fine. That one was mostly cut. That was mostly cut. So I'll just come back and trim the rest of it off these last two bits. And you can already see a little bit of a difference. This can hurt me. This one is not going to hurt me when I try using it. Okay, so next we need to repunch those little holes. Now, because we have this edge of laminate on the side, we need to change what the depth is. And that to me looks like it's probably close to another 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and move it all the way back to 1/2 inch just to start and see where we're at. That is way too much. So now I'm going to adjust it a little bit up, a couple of notches. And that looks like it's about right. So I'll go ahead and repunch those 3 little holes. Then turn it around. Do the same thing on this side. And this one, because those two are so close together, I'm going to actually move this one over a little bit. Okay. Now, we also need to have a hole for this closure band to go on. That's what holds it shut. So to do that, I'm using my, I think I need to use it on the other side. That'd be good. This is a Sizzix Stamper's Secret Weapon. And I'll leave a link to that down below after the video's done. I don't have any links down there yet. But I'm basically going to take my pokey tool, my Tim Holtz craft pick, and go through that little hole. And that's just to give me a way to be able to put that piece of elastic through. Now this one is going to be harder to thread than the others, but it's still going to work. Now you could use, if you have one, I don't have one, there are punches that are basically handheld that you hit with a hammer, and I don't have one of those, but you could use one of those if you have one to do that hole. I think this works just as well. So next I'm going to get some elastic. Now this is some stuff that I think I picked up at Joann's. a couple of years ago. And I'm going to thread these through. This elastic is going to be what's going to... This is what's going to be holding all of those inserts inside. And I want it to be able to go back and forth 4 times, plus enough to be able to tie in the middle. So I'm going to just wrap this around. 1, 2, that's actually 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll trim it off right about here. And because we don't want this to fray, I'm going to just take a lighter and burn the edges a little bit. I'll probably have to do this again because I almost always mismeasure just a bit. Okay, so we're going to start off threading this through. You want to go from the outside in through the middle hole on one of the 2 ends. And just go up a little over half there. Then you take the other end and thread it through one of these side ones. And this is what it's going to look like on the outside. It's going to be nice and neat and pretty. Then you thread it through the matching hole on the opposite end. Pull it snug, you don't want it to be too tight, and then go back through the center. Pull that tight again. So now you've got 2 of those little silver pieces on the end. Then you're going to want to go back down to the center of the opposite side. Now we've got 2 of the men's side, and we're going to go back through the other one on the same starting end. Then go back through the matching one on the opposite end. And then go back through that center. Assuming I can get it to go back through that hole. There we go. So it looks nice on the outside. And on the inside, we've got places to put 3 of our inserts. Then this last one, we're just going to tie that together in the center. And I always have trouble holding things tight when I'm trying to tie, so I'm going to use my reverse tweezers to hold it in the middle. And just tie it in a knot. And then you've got your elastics for your inserts. Now, if you feel that that is too loose or too tight, you can always untie it and redo it once you've played with it a bit and seen how you like. I'm going to go ahead and trim these down a little more and then burn those ends again, just like I did before. But be careful not to catch the house on fire. Oh, hey TR, how are you doing, honey? Glad to see you here. Okay, so now we've got everything is threaded on there, but we still need to have that band to go around the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of the elastic. It's going to need to be about the length, a little more than the length of your notebook cover. And this is going to be a little harder to thread through. First I'm going to go ahead and burn the ends a little bit so that it doesn't fray. And then I'm looking for some, there it is. I've shown you guys these before. These are just dental flossers. You can find these at most drugstores. And I think that it works really good for whenever you're trying to thread some kind of thread through a tiny, tiny hole that you're having trouble with. I used this when I was doing the tags this winter. This is also another really good use for it. So you need to put the end through that hole and make sure that it's not in between any of your others. And go ahead and pull one of the ends through. And because that hole was poked with just the pokey tool, it is a little harder. It's a really tight fit there. Okay, and I'm going to pull part of this back out because I need to thread the other end through there. So we're going to have the loop on the outside. Hi, Maylin. We are making Traveler's Notebook cover. It's been a while since I did this, and I thought it would be cute to have one using some Valentine's paper. Okay, now I finally got that to go back through that hole. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put the other end through and pull it through. We're going to leave a loop on the outside. You don't want to pull it all the way through. And then a trick I just figured out, I'm going to go ahead and just put one of the binder clips on the outside holding that so I don't accidentally pull it all the way through by mistake. Because what I need to do now is tie the inside. I think before I do that, I want to make sure I get it right because last time it was a little bit long. And because it was a little bit long for me, I had to go back in and untie it and retie it. I think that could be a little bit tighter, so let me pull that up a little bit more. Just going to tie it in a knot on the inside and adjust it to wherever you feel that you need it. Do it about there. Let's see how that fits. And let me see what it feels like. That might actually be too tight. Now these notebooks I've got here are not the right size for these. They're about 1/4 inch too big both directions. Okay, that is a little bit too snug, I think. So I'm going to loosen that a little bit. I have a hard time untying elastic. And did you see that? I almost pulled it back through. I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to thread it back through. So let me put that on there to make sure it doesn't come back through. Yeah, Maylin, the flossers work really good for doing that. I use it when I'm doing ribbon, anything I want to put through a hole. And I mean, my eyes are okay, but trying to get something that tiny through there does not always want to work. And the holes are usually too small for whatever it is we're trying to thread through. I mean, ribbon tends to be wider than the holes, so this thing works really good. I don't even remember who I heard that trick from, but I've done that for the last, I don't know, 3 years at least. Okay, so this is almost untied. So this is why you want to try to get it right the first time. I tried and it still didn't work. Okay, for traveler's notebooks, a lot of folks use them as a planner. What I've used mine for in the past is to carry basically little notebooks inside of it that I could take notes with or whatever. This one is small enough to fit in your purse. So you could always jot down, okay, we're crafters. You could jot down crafting ideas and stuff when you're out and about. You could do your grocery list, whatever you want to do with it. I think the main purpose that people do it is for like journaling and for planning. And when I first got started in crafting a couple of years ago, well, it was 2017, when I first got started with this, my goal at the beginning of that year was just to get more organized, and this is not wanting to come untied, but wanting to better organize my time and try to get more stuff done. I mean, it's like when you're working all the time and then you're trying to get things other than just work done, it was really, really difficult for me. So I bought a planner at Staples, didn't like it. Finally got a ring bound that I do like, and I've still got it. Didn't like the inserts that came with it, so I made my own. And in that process of learning different things about how to design your own inserts and such, I discovered stamping, which basically brought me to card making, and I've been hooked ever since. I'm sure that most of you guys have got a similar crafting starting story. You got started with one thing and went in completely a different direction, and now you're hooked. So here is the finished cover. Another thing I've seen that you can do, and I love doing this too, is make little charms for it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start a new series of traveler notebook things and just bling this thing out for you guys, showing some of the stuff that I've discovered. My main purpose for it is this size is great for putting in your, basically putting in your purse, so you've always got a pad of paper somewhere. These little notebooks were from the Dollar Tree, and I just changed out the cover. I just added some pretty cardstock to the cover, and they're actually too big for this, about a ½ inch, about a ¼ inch each direction. This one is, this is 4.5 by 3.25, and the size notebooks that you really need for this is 3 inches by 4 inches. So these are too big, but even these will actually fit in there, and it's easy to adjust the size of your cover depending on what size notebook that you have. Plus you can make your own notebooks. Inserts for these are really super easy to make. So I will be doing a video on that pretty soon too. So to basically put them in, most of the signatures that you get or create for one are folded pieces of paper, or folded stacks of paper that are bound in the center. So you would basically open them up in the center and just thread them through the little strap, and it holds it in place for you. So you could have multiples in there, and people do junk journaling and things like that in this kind of thing. And yes, Tiara, it does make a great gift. I have given some of these as gifts before, and people absolutely loved them. So that is the project I have for you guys for today. Do you guys have any questions about how I did this or about the template? I will be including a general template on my blog. I'm planning on creating a digital download for you guys, including a template and maybe some measurements and how to create your own and size it and everything. But that's basically it for this video. Well, thanks, Maylin. I'm glad that you like that. Yeah, it works out great. I mean, I did my first one that I did that was about this size is orange and beach theme, and I still have it somewhere. It's got a nice little charm. It's got some orange notebooks to go in it, and it's so cute. And this is a great use of your pattern papers too. I've also seen a couple of other designs that I want to try for doing the covers, so keep an eye out for those. Those will be coming soon too. Do me a big favor though. Go over into the Facebook group and let me know some ideas as to some stuff that you would like to see here on my channel. I'm doing these videos for you. And this is something that I know was really popular a couple of years ago when I did some videos on Traveler's Notebooks before. So I wanted to kind of revisit that and remind you of another thing that you can do with your pattern paper. I mean, this both of these came from the same sheet, and I've got some extra scrap left over that I can use to go on a couple of cards. So it doesn't even use up a lot of paper depending on what size that you make. And the laminating makes it a lot tougher, a lot more sturdy, so that it doesn't fall apart as easy. Like I said, I've got some that I've had for a few years. Actually, if you want to hold on just a second, I'm going to run get one of those. So let me mute this out real quick. Okay, so this is the one that I told you that I had that was kind of beach theme. Thought it was beach theme. I think I've actually got another one too. This, I put a little charm on it that's a skittle. I think I picked that up at Michael's or something. And these are really old notebooks. And this is one of the signatures that I made from a piece of some pattern paper that was in the same stack that I used. And so this one was really cute, and then I made a larger one, this one, and I've got another charm on it. And this one was kind of nautical. And let's see what I have in here. I created some pockets. So this one's a laminated piece with a pocket in there. I was practicing some other things. Oh, and this one, I made this a while back too, and there is a video for this piece too. This holds cards. So, business cards or credit cards. And it's basically just laminating and cardstock. And I dressed it up some with some washi tape. And you can tell I've got different size signatures in here. This one I did with some graph paper, and this was actually, was that 2017? It was 2017. So I was trying to keep track of what I was eating at that point because I need to lose weight. And I was wanting to also track, pricing on different things. Like I said, this is 3 years ago. Ideas to try. So those are just some of the things that I used that one for. And I haven't even looked at these in a while, and I probably should. But they're super cute, and they are super easy to make. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave you guys with that. Oh, one other thought is instead of using pattern paper, you could design your own. Basically design your own and print it out and use that paper to do this. So there's a lot of different ways that you can create a really cute notebook. So anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with that, and be sure that if you're not already a member of my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, go ahead and head on over to the Facebook group over there. I also have a blog that has a couple of different membership types that you can get on there, including a Happy Mail Club there. So go ahead and sign up for those. I would love to have you with us. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will chat with you later. Thanks, and remember, if I can make it, I mean, come on guys, you can definitely do this. If I can make it, you can too.